We got to keep on playing. So the rep's going to be different, and we're going to miss Tuck, but we got to keep on going and focus on doing our job the best of our ability.
Musgrave, along with John Fitzpatrick and John Wiley, get a look to fill Kraft's role. Again, it'll be the Packers and Eagles on Monday night. Kick is slated for 7:15. Turning to the Badgers, they will face number 23 Washington tomorrow afternoon. Wisconsin's lost 6 straight games, 10 straight Big Ten games. Despite that, athletic director Chris McIntosh said yesterday that Coach Luke Fickell will return for a 4th season. Fickell just 15-19 with the Badgers, hasn't beaten a Power 4 team since last October. Huskies favored by 10.5. Kick is at 3:30.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Bucks back in action tonight as they welcome in the Bulls for an NBA Cup game at Fiserv Forum. Tip is at 7. And the 24th-ranked Badgers also in action tonight as they face Northern Illinois at the Kohl Center. Tip there is at 7:30. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil. Print.
Matt LaFleur's coaching like a guy who thinks he's got this job as long as he wants it. LaFleur knows how this works. He loses a game. He gets up there. He takes some accountability, says, we got to get better, deflects some of the accountability, but he does not have any fear of anything. He's not getting fired. He's not getting fired at the end of the season.
We consistently lose the ball. I do think there's a little bit of pressing to get a big play, but when they're not there, you can't chase it. You got to be able to run the football. I think that's been a little bit of an issue at times.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
All right, 2 voices there in the intro. The first is our friend Bart Winkler. You hear him on the show from time to time. That was his Packer postgame show on Sunday. I saw him post that clip. And I think there's some truth there. I think Matt LaFleur's been pretty comfortable as the Packers head coach. He's won a lot of games. I think he's earned that comfort up until now, but his criticism is maybe he shouldn't be able to feel so comfortable. And then that second voice you heard, Matt LaFleur, that was from his presser yesterday, just talking about the state of the team and the offense at about the halfway point in the season. That's where I want to begin. Matt LaFleur, the trajectory of this team, and his comfort level long-term about remaining the Packers head coach. A little hot seat talk to begin the show. My name is Grant Bills, the Wisco Sports Show. Appreciate you being here. Fins up. It's Friday. We'll get to chat with Ryan Wood here in about 15 minutes. Our Friday conversation presented by La Crosse Beer House, corner of 3rd and Pearl in downtown La Crosse. So as always, I encourage our WK2Y listeners, even if you just go down there for a beer every once in a while, would appreciate if, you appreciate them and thank them for their support of the show. And obviously the brats are outstanding. I had the bacon last time I was there. The giant pretzel, always delicious. Great place to stop after work for a happy hour beer with some friends or coworkers on the way home. Or if you want to go out and really cut it loose on the weekend, obviously an extra, great spot for that. Right downtown, perfect place to start and enjoy a good afternoon or an evening out on the town. Your phone calls will be welcome throughout. We'll probably get into some Badgers talk in hour number 2. We led with the Badgers yesterday. I still think it's probably the biggest story in Wisconsin sports right now, some of the things that Chris McIntosh had to say yesterday. But we did what was probably close to an hour and a half on it last night. So we'll save that for hour number 2, and I want to make sure that you get a good fix of Packers talk as we go into this weekend and Monday Night Football, the Eagles game on Monday night. So I'll take your calls on Badgers and Packers, 608-321-1670. I'll also give you a little teaser at some point of what is to come on Monday, as Monday is November 10th and the 50th anniversary of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. I'll give you a little teaser of our conversation that we'll have with Rick Mixter on Monday. This will be his 3rd time on the show, I believe, 3rd or 4th. I've actually lost count. But that 20-minute interview I did last week is tremendous. He's always great. And I'll give you just a little bit of a teaser, probably to wrap up both of the hours, maybe at 4:50 and at 5:50. Maybe I'll give it to you twice just to get excited for what's to come on Monday. I want to start with the idea of Matt LaFleur and the heat of his seat. And I remember coming into this season, getting a lot of questions from Packers fans, probably mostly from Packers fans who are already predisposed to not like Matt LaFleur. Like, I don't think the world's biggest Matt LaFleur fans were calling sports talk radio in August. Like, hey, Grant, like, what if this year doesn't go well? Could Matt LaFleur be on the hot seat? I love the guy. I'm just curious. Like, most of those concerns or conversations were started by people, I would guess, who already had their doubts to varying degrees about Matt LaFleur. But I remember back in August, before the season started, talking about Matt LaFleur and his role as the Packers head coach. And, you know, the conversation of, well, if this year doesn't go well, especially now that Micah Parsons is here and Jordan Love is paid and they just drafted Matthew Golden and they, you know, went out and paid 2 more guys in free agency, like the window is open. All of the offseason moves, those comments from Brian Gutekunst back in February, I believe, at the combine or March at the combine, saying it's time we need to up our sense of urgency. It's time we really start competing for championships. Everything that was said and everything that was done up in Green Bay this last offseason signaled now is the time. And I remember fielding questions and talking about this on the show. If this year doesn't go well, could Matt LaFleur be on the hot seat? And my answer at the time was, guys, if any season doesn't go well for any coach, they'll be on the hot seat. There isn't a coach in the NFL other than maybe Sean McVay and Andy Reid, maybe Kyle Shanahan. Put it this way, 98% of coaches in the NFL are one bad season away from being on the hot seat, no matter their previous successes. There isn't a franchise in the NFL that's going to look at a season and say, well, that went poorly, but man, we love our coach. No problem at all. There are extenuating circumstances. If you're in a rebuild, the Browns perpetually are. So Kevin Stefanski's kind of got maybe a unique situation there. And there's plenty of coaches who have proven it. McVay's won a Super Bowl. Andy Reid's won a Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan has almost won 2 Super Bowls, which to me means something. But for the vast majority of franchises and coaches, yeah, if a season goes poorly, that coach is on the hot seat, plain and simple, no matter their previous successes, because that's how the sport works. So anytime somebody would ask, well, if this season doesn't go well, Matt LaFleur be on the hot seat? Yes. And that's true of just about every coach in football. That's not even a Matt LaFleur take. That's just an NFL take. That's a coaching take. Big picture, right? I cut 2 pieces of sound yesterday, and I was planning to talk about this last night, and then we got the big McIntosh story. I cut 2 pieces of sound from one of my favorite football talkers, friend of show, John Middlecoff, who's been on, and has given some really good commentary on Matt LaFleur because he knows the league really well. He's worked as a scout. He's worked in front offices before. He just knows everybody and has an experience with everybody. This cut was after the Packers' Thursday night football victory over the Commanders. And this is John Middlecoff. So back in September, early September. I believe that game was on September 11th, right? Not that it's just a mental marker. That's an easy way for me to remember when this game happened. So first, I guess second week of September, John Middlecoff talking about Matt LaFleur. Take a listen.
Fan base, I just would have guessed coming into this year. I didn't realize.
I'm going to give you this one, actually.
When it comes to this Packers situation, I think in a perfect world, they would love to just,
would you hate me and would I be embarrassed if I told you that if neither one of those were correct? Here's the correct one. Sorry about that. This is back from September again. Sorry.
I remember going to a Titans practice. LaFleur was kind of this, young up-and-comers, his first ever offensive coordinator job, thinking like, God, this guy's a pretty big red ass. He was screaming at people. That was like Mariota, Deion Lewis, Derrick Henry. That was before Derrick Henry was good, like Luan. I mean, they had some good players. But I just remember this guy, and I've been to a lot of NFL practices. Some offensive coordinators, like if you go to a 49er practice, Kyle Shanahan's not screaming at a bunch of people. Gruden would scream at people. Even Harbaugh, Greg Roman, they weren't screaming at you. You went there, it's like LaFleur was just screaming at people. And sometimes he's kind of got that in him. He's got a little edge to him. LaFleur's really grown on me over the years.
So I can go back the first month of the season, the first couple weeks, when the Packers did what they did to the Lions, then they looked really strong against the Commanders going into their mini bye post Thursday Night Football. And those were 2 huge games, right? Week 1, I believe that was a 3:30 game. Packers Lions, everyone was paying attention to that one. It was a huge game. Micah Parsons' debut. And then Thursday night standalone game. People singing the praises of Matt LaFleur, whether it's John Middlecoff there giving you an example of, I've really come around on this guy. He's come into his own. I'm a big fan. Matt LaFleur, great coach. I mean, remember last year what he did with Malik Willis. There was a lot of praise for Matt LaFleur the second week of September. It's now the second week of November, and I'll play you some more audio from John Middlecoff. This is what I have accidentally played when I was trying to play that one. Labeling, it's Friday. Bear with me.
Fan base, I just would have guessed coming into this year. I didn't realize there was so much pressure on Matt LaFleur from his fan base. I just would have guessed coming into this year. It was pretty highly respected. I would say universally liked. and then you drop a game as a big favorite to the Browns, you tie the Cowboys, and then you drop that Carolina game at home, and people start asking some serious questions. So when I go, well, is Matt LaFleur going to get extended? I'd say he better win some playoff games. Because I do think there's a chance that you could question. It's kind of like the James Franklin thing. James Franklin did not get fired because he lost to Oregon. He did not get fired because he lost to Ohio State. He got fired the moment he started losing to UCLA and Northwestern. Now, part of it for Matt LaFleur, it goes, what is your ceiling? And your ceiling because, and it could be the quarterback. Where is Jordan Love going to fall? Is he Dak Prescott? Like, how's he going to play in the playoffs? But ultimately, he's going to determine Matt LaFleur's fate. Obviously, Matt LaFleur has some control over that because he's calling the plays. But, like, he's not telling Jordan Love to throw across his body in the red zone right to a Carolina defender. Like that, I'm sure he's not giving him a thumbs up on
So there's three comments there that I kind of sandwiched together. The first is, man, I didn't realize there was all this pressure on Matt LaFleur. Where'd this come from? Lose a couple of games. Wow, I didn't look at this. Quite a turn from 2 months ago when it's like, man, I really like Matt LaFleur. He's come into his own. Good coach. Did a great job. He's brought Jordan Love along. That second bit of commentary, the comparison to James Franklin, I think is an interesting one. James Franklin at Penn State, although I don't imagine that the university and that fan base was happy that they couldn't beat some of the elite teams. He got fired because all of a sudden he's losing to UCLA and Northwestern, and that's that. And look at the Packers' schedule this year. They've lost to the Browns. They tied the Cowboys, which to me is a lesser deal. And then they lose as 2 touchdown favorites at home to the Panthers. Their worst loss, if you just look at the line, since the game that got Mike McCarthy fired. And then the end, he's like, well, look, if Jordan Love can't get it done in big games, that's probably going to cost Matt LaFleur's job at some point. And I think the Cowboys with Mike McCarthy is a good example. Mike McCarthy couldn't win playoff games. Was it Mike McCarthy's fault? Maybe a bit. It's probably more of a Dak Prescott thing. Here's a little bit more from John Middlecoff.
When it comes to this Packers situation, I think in a perfect world, they would love to just, even if they don't make the Super Bowl, be the NFC Championship game, extend everybody, and just keep this thing rolling. Sometimes that doesn't happen. And when you lose games like you do against Carolina and Cleveland, it's hard to trust you as a team. And they're playing the Philadelphia Eagles this week on Monday Night Football. There are going to be a lot of eyeballs on that game. And here's the thing about the Green Bay Packers. They get up for the big games, right? At least they have this season. So I just think that this situation for Matt LaFleur is something that I would have told you were crazy, 6 months ago, that his job was in jeopardy. Better win. You don't have to win the Super Bowl. You don't have to win the NFC. But I do think you got to show out in the playoffs. You can't have a situation like last year where it was just that first round game was an embarrassment.
So his framing is a little interesting. You don't have to win the Super Bowl. You don't have to win the AFC, but you can't lose in the first round, which to me, draws a very clear line. It's like, okay, so he makes the divisional round. He's safe. I am not a fan of, what does the coach have to do to get extended? What round? How far? Because it can take a million different twists and turns and it can look lots of different ways. So I have a really difficult, time drawing a hard line in the sand with stuff like that. My point is this, to go back to the original point when we started the show. Any coach, no matter how popular or how successful, is a couple of bad games and one bad season away from being on the hot seat. I would bet against Matt LaFleur being fired at the end of this year, right now, because I think the Packers would just love, as you just heard Middlecoff say, I think they'd love to keep this going. They like this core, general manager, head coach, a lot of success. I don't think Ed Policy wants to hire anyone new. I don't think he wants to fire anyone who's currently employed. But again, when you ask, well, if this year doesn't go well, is a coach on the hot seat? Yes, and that's true of any coach, save for maybe McVay and Reed. But then even with those coaches, if those years go sideways, there's probably extenuating circumstances. There's injuries, there's, whatever. And that's truly, that's true with Shanahan for sure. Just so many injuries. And they've competed anyways. With a backup quarterback, I just saw a tweet before the show, Brock Purdy's going to miss another game. So when we talk about, well, is Matt LaFleur on the hot seat? Well, if the rest of the year goes poorly, yeah. But that's less a Matt LaFleur thing and more just commentary, and that's just emblematic of the way the league works. And I just gave you some sound to prove it. That's John Middlecoff, who I think is a great analyst. He's one of my favorites. The second week of September, like, man, I really like this guy. Things look awesome. He's one of the best coaches in football. Fast forward 2 months, man, you lose a couple stinkers and you don't show out in the playoffs. You don't play well. Yeah. Thumbs the brakes. That's how the league works. To me, this isn't even a Matt LaFleur thing. I do think a little pressure, and the pressure is hot right now. This Monday night game is huge. Everybody's going to be watching it, and everyone's leaning in to say, all right, Jordan Love, what do you got? All right, Matt LaFleur, what do you got? You just lost as 2-touchdown favorites at home to the Panthers, who I think are a smart outfit. They're not a complete and total, they're not awful. But a lot of people think the Browns are awful. And you lost to the Browns in a game you had that was pathetic. They have not performed well in games decided by 3 points or less. Turns out special teams matter a lot in those games, interestingly enough, which has never been a success, a successful unit under Matt LaFleur. So yeah, Monday is huge, 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 huge for the way that Matt LaFleur is going to be perceived and discussed, and the way that Jordan Love is going to be perceived and discussed. Standalone games, are you kidding me? It's going to lead every show on Tuesday. It's Packers-Eagles at Lambeau. And the Packers just lost at home as 13.5-point favorites to the Panthers. So yeah, I think this season is trending in a way, if all of you have been standing by, well, let's see how this goes. If it doesn't go well, Matt LaFleur will be on the hot seat. Yeah, I told you that in August, because that would be true of any coach other than maybe McVay, Reed, and Shanahan. Those guys have all won Super Bowls or been to multiple Super Bowls. In the case of Kyle Shanahan, and if he was playing anyone other than Patrick Mahomes, probably would have won one or both of those Super Bowls, right? I think Sirianni is one bad season away from being on the hot seat. He was probably on the hot seat last year. We've talked about it. It's been talked about. Ryan Wood is going to join us next, PackersNews.com, to talk about all this. I want to ask him a couple of things about the Panthers game. I know it feels like ancient history now, but I do want his opinion on some of the things that happened on Sunday. That will color our commentary and our discussion moving forward. We'll also, of course, talk about the Tucker Kraft injury and some of the things that, have been said and talked about throughout the week, including what he's heard in the locker room and at certain press conferences. Ryan Wood going to join us next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoked. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros for pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I think in a perfect world, they would love to just, even if they don't make the Super Bowl, be the NFC Championship game, extend everybody, and just keep this thing rolling. Sometimes that doesn't happen. And when you lose games like you do against Carolina and Cleveland, it's hard to trust you as a team. And they're playing the Philadelphia Eagles this week on Monday Night Football. There are going to be a lot of eyeballs on that game.
One more time, that's John Middlecoff. Just a little bit of commentary that paints the picture of some of the narrative swirling around the Packers. Some of these losses have been bad and have a lot of people looking at the Packers like, okay, a lot of talent. The high end is there. Can I trust you week by week? Can I take you fully seriously? You don't have to agree with that. I just think it's an interesting thing. Gets us into our segment with Ryan Wood. He is presented by Lacrosse Beer House, corner of 3rd and Pearl. You can read his work, PackersNews.com. He's on Twitter @ByRyanWood. Ryan, I want to start with a question from the Panthers game. And I know it's Friday. I know this feels like ancient history. But I couldn't help but notice, I heard it on the broadcast. Pam Oliver mentioned this in her after halftime report. I heard it in Matt LaFleur's postgame presser. I heard it from Josh Jacobs. We knew what the Panthers were going to do. We knew they were going to want to run the ball, possess the ball. We knew that they were going to force us to dink and dunk. It seemed clear that the Packers were fully aware. They went into this game eyes wide open, knowing what to expect. So why did it seem like they were so poorly equipped to deal with what the Panthers were doing? Like, help me make sense of that.
Yeah, well, first of all, I found that to be the most interesting thing I heard after the game.
Hell yeah.
And that's why I don't buy for a second that was a trap game, right? It's not like they overlooked. In fact, it was quite the opposite. They knew exactly that the Carolina Panthers had one blueprint, one script they had to follow to win. The Panthers came out, and from the first drive, they're going for it on 4th down and minus territory. Like they're doing what a road underdog must do to win a game on the road as an underdog. They're being aggressive, and the Packers weren't surprised by this. Why couldn't they stop it? I think you saw, especially an offense that lacked a lot of maturity. I think you saw an offense that started to chase big plays. You know, on our Green 19 podcast after the game, I used this analogy. Are you a runner, Grant?
I am actually. I was a cross-country track guy. Yeah. That was my sport.
Okay. So you'll understand this. When you are running a couple miles into a really tough wind and it affects your pace, right? And you feel like you're straining, you're working hard, but the pace isn't where it's supposed to be. What do you do? What if you don't know better? What do? You try harder. You're like, well, darn it, I'm going to pick up the pace. I'm going to get my pace. And that's the worst thing to do, because then you're just gassed. You start chasing that pace, and all of a sudden you're running out of steam, and it'll smoke you faster. What you need to do is you need to find that relaxed, comfortable rhythm, and then you'll be okay, right? It just seemed like this Packers offense was going against the Panthers defense, a bit of a strong headwind. They're playing those two high safeties every single down. They're not giving up the explosive plays that they're used to. They're behind their pace. Darn it, they're going to force it anyway. They're going to try harder, and that's not what you need to do. Take what's there. Find that comfortable, relaxed rhythm. Keep the chains moving. Just take what the defense is giving you, but they didn't do that. They go for it on 4th and 8 instead of taking the field goal. Jordan Love chucks it into triple coverage down the middle of the field for an interception. They start straining. That you have to have maturity enough to find that rhythm as an offense, and that's the big issue that they've got to get to that point.
So I think we all went into this game, and I talked about this last Thursday and Friday. I'm like, this is such a great spot for the Packers to finally flex a little bit. It would cap off a great month of wins. It would propel you into the Eagles game, kind of the next portion of your schedule. And it became clear early that just wasn't on the table, which is frustrating. And the Packers fans on Twitter are melting down. But at a certain point, Ryan, I looked up at the clock and I'm like, oh, this game is still so winnable. Like, here we are, losing our minds in our group chats and on Twitter. And I'm like, oh, they could easily still win this game if they just get a stop and a score. Like, it was within their reach. And I think maybe that's the most disappointing thing, and I think that's kind of what you're describing, is this game remained winnable right to the very end, even though the way Packers fans were talking about this game during the game, you would have never known it. I just think a mature team that's ready to contend finds a way to win that game and says, yeah, it wasn't perfect. It was ugly, but you tip your cap to the Panthers, and then you move on with a win instead of a loss. And I don't know. I don't want to overreact, but I think a loss like that does go a long way in making fans and people question, like, how much can we trust you on a week-to-week basis?
Yeah, I mean, they'll never acknowledge listening to the outside noise, but they almost played like they listened to the outside noise. All season, we're talking about style points. And it's like they played like style points mattered. They don't actually matter. The NFL is a week-to-week league, and we say that all the time, so much that it's a cliche. But what it actually means is that literally on any week basis, anything can happen. You don't actually know. Like, the bottom line is just win the game. Style points are stupid. Don't care about style points. Just do what's required to win and move on. Make the adjustments, get better, improve during the week. Teachable film, all that in practice. Just win the game on game day every given week. So with that said, this is a really big game coming up Monday night.
Yeah. Well,
this is a big game. It's not because it's a big matchup, right? It's not because it's a sexy storylines, last year's playoffs, they've played a lot in recent years. It's because you lose. They've lost twice this year by a field goal each time to teams that they should not have lost to, teams that are not good. After opening the season the way they did with a statement victory against a team is very good, and now you have another opportunity at night, at home, against a team is good. I think that depending on how they look Monday night, that tells me more about, is there regression with this team? Is there a reason to really, really worry even more than losing to teams that you should? Those games, okay, shouldn't happen. They do. They do for everybody. You move on. How do they look against a really, really good team? I'm fascinated to see that.
Well, 3 wins out of the bye. I think this Carolina-Philly, 8-day stretch was so important because if you beat Carolina and then even show well against Philly, you look at the rest of the schedule, it's like, well, why not? There's only a couple games you probably won't be favored in. It sets up really well. But then if you lose to Carolina and then lose at home to Philly, now the inverse is true. You start to look at the schedule, Ryan. It's like, well, J.J. McCarthy looks okay. Detroit's probably going to be a tall task. Chicago's getting better every week. Like, this has just been such a sliding door stretch for the Packers. And instead of beating Carolina, maybe beating Philly, if it goes the other way, I think it really changes the lens through which we view the rest of the schedule, right?
Yeah, I mean, doesn't it kind of feel like you almost trust them to play well and maybe even beat the Eagles more than you do next week going to the Giants?
Yeah. The last couple of years, that's what the last couple of years would tell us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what this team has been this season, which again is why I think this is a really big game, because the one thing that the Packers absolutely have going for themselves in terms of consistency, right? In terms of what is tangible here is that this does feel, and they've shown this, like a team that can beat anybody. They've shown that they can go into Pittsburgh at night and beat Aaron Rodgers. They can also lose in Cleveland, but they can do that. They can beat the Lions at home. Like, this is a team that can beat anybody. You don't beat the Eagles. That's just seems like a pretty big piece of the armor that you're taking out there, right? Because that's something that you, even on a week like last week where you lose to the Panthers, you can still say, okay, this season we got to get better. We got to figure that out. We can beat anyone. You don't beat the Eagles. That's a big hit against that.
Ryan Wood is here. Thanks to Lacrosse Beer House, and his work is at PackersNews.com. I remember asking you 2 or 3 weeks ago, like, how many opportunities and how much room for growth there is on this O-line. If they get healthier, they play more together. I know they still haven't been perfectly healthy, but we've got an opportunity to see some of these guys play with a little bit more continuity since I last asked you. And I'm just starting to worry that the linemen that they have aren't that good. What have you seen from the O-line since we've last talked?
I think it might be even bigger than that. I wonder if they even have their best 5 out there. You know, I don't know that if their best 5 includes Jordan Morgan at right guard instead of left tackle, but that's tough because Rasheed Walker is probably among their best 5. Aaron Banks, his injury situation being up and down, like that's where you have to start. That's the genesis of great offensive line play. Identify the best 5, put them out there. do they have everyone in the right spots? I mean, are you really confident when you watch this offense that their best five is in the right spots to be their best five? I don't know. And then on top of that, kind of just exponentially adding to the issues in the run game is a running back that is playing through this calf injury. The fact that it's been 3 straight games of fewer than 18 carries for Josh Jacobs is a bit astounding. That he is a volume carrier. He needs his 20 carries in a game to really be what he is. He's not Aaron Jones. Very different. Aaron Jones could have 13 carries in a game and have a huge impact in those 13 carries. He was not a volume carrier. Josh Jacobs needs those 20 carries. He's not getting 18 right now. Like, they've got to figure that out. So there's a whole lot of mess there, and they're going to need that running game, obviously, with Tucker Kraft taking explosiveness out of the passing game. They've got to find that balance.
How much of Matt LaFleur's play calling, everybody is being critical. They're being too conservative. They're not letting Jordan Love throw the ball. Do you think some of that is Matt LaFleur doesn't trust his O-line and he's calling plays accordingly?
No, see, I don't have much issue with Matt LaFleur, the play caller. I think that he is actually one of the best play designers. And he's not going to call every play perfect. Yeah, the 3rd and 3 screen. How many times do you go back to that slip screen before the defense just knows, okay, he's not perfect. For the most part, I think he does a really good job calling plays. I think that the issue, and for me, it goes back to the finale last year against Chicago with the management there, is having that sudden transition from you are obsessed, you are focused, dialed in on your play sheet, and now this big moment comes in a game, and you have to put on your head coach cap, take off the play caller cap, and you got to make the right decision, and you have to do it in a way that is not overly emotional. You have to be very logistical and make sure that you are making the right decision. And that means that, okay, you were gung-ho about going for this 4th down coming up if you didn't get it on 3rd and 3, but now it's 4th and 8, take the points. I know you're emotional here, but take the points. It just seems like there's been too many times going back to the end of last season where that an emotional decision has been made when it shouldn't be. Like that to me that's got to stop. Because I'm very different than a lot of Packers fans. I know. I think Matt LaFleur is a very good head coach. I think he's a fine play caller, but you got to step away from the emotional decisions.
Pete Doherty said something similar on Bill's show earlier this week too. So I think a lot of great minds are thinking along those lines. Do you see anything with this Packers defense and think I would do that a little differently? I would make an adjustment there. I would make a tweak there. I just want to open the floor for you on the Packers defense before we wrap up. Anything that comes to mind.
I get off the field in game-winning situations at the end of the game. that to me is, that's the one thing that stands out to me. The run defense, okay. I do think Colby Wooden not being on the field for most of the game Sunday had a big impact. He is. I was very skeptical this spring when the Packers let TJ Slayton walk, because you turn on TJ Slayton's film the last couple of years. What's the biggest compliment that you can give a guy, especially in the run game? He was a dog in the run game. Like, he just dominated people inside. I was very skeptical. You look at Colby Wooden. I understand why they let TJ Slayton walk, because Colby Wooden's a dog in the run game. He dominates people inside. He has been doing that dirty work, and he's filled into that role nicely. Now you don't have him. Like, I do think that made a big impact. Not saying it's all that. I'm not saying it's excusable, because this is the NFL. You don't have everyone healthy all the time. You have to figure it out anyway, and they didn't. But the biggest issue to me is Cleveland. 21 seconds left. You have to make a stop. They let Joe Flacco and the Browns offense get into field goal range for the game winner. After halftime in Dallas, they get off the field once, including giving up the field goal in overtime. Carolina, you give up a 19-yard inside zone from midfield with 46 seconds left, despite the fact they have 2 timeouts, have been running the ball all over you. You're expecting a pass here against a quarterback that's 11 of 20 for 102 yards, cannot throw. It's windy. They've been running it all over you. They have those 2 timeouts, and you're just not prepared for that, and you give that up in that situation. Championship-level defenses make those plays. They make those stands when the game is on the line. And 3 times now this season, we haven't seen this defense do that. That to me is the one area of concern.
Situational defense. I agree with that. 60 seconds. Do you agree with how they're handling kicker?
If Brandon McManus is not healthy, why is he kicking? He's missing kicks. If he's working through things, as Matt LaFleur said, why is Lucas Haversack not? He was on a heater for 2 games. I understand that kicking in Arizona is one thing. I understand why he's on the roster, Lucas Haversack, because they don't need the roster spot. But if he's going to be on the roster, your starting kicker is not healthy, and you're not going to kick him anyway, that is a waste of a roster spot. Just because you don't need a roster spot means it's ever a good idea to waste a roster spot. I think that it's wise for him to be on the roster. I think it's unwise for a kicker who's not healthy to be kicking when you have another guy that you trust enough to be on the roster.
It'd be one thing if he was kicking well. That's what I don't get. It's like Andy's missing kicks to boot. And Matt LaFleur seems so concerned about the injury early on. So I don't know. It just seems like they've strayed away from their original messaging and strategy on that. Ryan, I appreciate it. We will look for your work this weekend. And on Monday night, it should be an awesome game to cover. So we look forward to it. Thanks for the time.
It should be. Take care.
Ryan, would you take care? PackersNews.com. Appreciate his time and appreciate Lacrosse Beer House for sponsoring his appearances, corner of 3rd and Pearl in downtown La Crosse. The kicking thing, there's probably not a perfect way to handle it. It's just a little odd. Like, we're going to keep Haversack here, and McManus isn't healthy, but we're not going to get rid of Haversack, but we're also not going to let him kick, even though McManus is working through something, which Matt LaFleur has admitted openly multiple times this week in press conferences. It's not like we're speculating that he's hurt. Matt LaFleur has said he's hurt. It's just a little weird. And McManus, when he's been out there, has been one of the worst kickers in football this year. Outside of the red zone, he's mostly been very, very bad. Very bad. A lot of things to pick through. If you want to talk Packers, I'll take your phone calls next at 608-321-1670. We'll get to some Packers takes. And Badgers takes is what I meant to say. We'll continue to follow up on the fallout from Chris McIntosh's media availability yesterday. And I'll give you a little teaser of what's to come on our Edmund Fitzgerald special on Monday.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I'm really excited to play against them. I think, there will be some talking on the field, but I'll catch up with them after. But, yeah, it's going to be a big challenge. They're, a bunch of great players. I think it's probably 6 or 7 guys. I don't know the total number, but just cool. You played so many years with these guys, and they're studs. They're great players. And, like I said, it's going to be a challenge, but I like the guys in our room, and we got to just do it on the biggest stage. It's fun. Go do what we're capable of doing.
So that's Packers tight end John Fitzpatrick. Going to be facing a lot of his Georgia Letterman, to use a Chris McIntosh phrase from yesterday. I would never play a John Fitzpatrick cut on the show. Did you notice the crap that he tried to throw in there, by the way? Did you catch this?
6 or 7.
So stupid. Your Packers phone calls at 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Hello?
Hey, it's Ron in Jersey. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, Big Ron. What's going on? Fins up.
Fins up Friday, baby. What you got going this weekend?
I'm just going to see my parents, actually. Just going to
Nice.
maybe go to a supper club tomorrow night. Not a whole lot. I think I might hang a tree stand. Get ready for gun deer season, maybe. Just guy stuff, Wisconsin stuff.
So are we going to get a famous Grant Bills X post with the fork in the road?
Yeah, in the dark, which is lame. It doesn't, dude, I love driving. Well, I just drive a lot, so I enjoy the time in the car. Cruising 94 in the evening after work just doesn't hit the same when it's cold and dark. But, yeah, I'll get a picture. I'm going right. I will take 94 and not 90 tonight. I hadn't even thought about that. Thank you for the reminder.
So I'm picking the Packers to win Monday night. I think that, they're just they play down to their competition, but some of the guys that you're quoting I think it was Ryan Wood that you just said on, they play up to their position in their competition. They can beat anyone. So it's as simple as that. And then Grant, it's been a long time since I gave your listeners a stock tip. Hertz Global Rental Car, ticker HTZ, Harry Tom Zebra. It's basically the FAA mandated that they're going to take a 10% reduction in flights, airline flights.
Okay.
So people are going to be forced to rent cars. I'm flying in December. I'm going to go to a Packer game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm flying I'm connecting through Chicago. So my New York to Chicago flight, it's a main flight. It's not going to get canceled. But my Milwaukee to Green Bay flight is likely to get canceled. So I'm going to have to rent a rental car in Chicago and drive up the second leg of my trip. That's going to be happening a lot. I'm betting this government shutdown is going to go on, longer rather than sooner.
No, they seem like they're just about to wrap it up, don't they? They seem like they're working real hard to make sure it ends quickly. What are you talking about?
I sense your sarcasm.
Yeah.
I sense your sarcasm, Grant. So that's my pick. It's real simple. The company was near bankruptcy. So that's why Hertz and not like maybe a competitor like Avis Budget, because Hertz trades at like half the price to sales ratio as Avis Budget, because they were close to bankruptcy during COVID, because no one was traveling and renting cars during COVID, so they almost went bankrupt. But they're profitable. They made $2.5 billion in sales in the last 3 months, so they're at about a $10 billion run rate. And you could buy the entire company for about $2 billion.
Let's just do that then.
So they're very attractively priced.
Why are we futzing around? And Finn's up around. I appreciate that. Have a good weekend. Why are we futzing around with stocks then? Let's just buy the whole thing. I am intrigued at the mind of a stock. Ron used to trade. Now he's out in the burbs in Jersey. He left the rat racing and chasing behind. This is an interesting way of thinking about it. It does not seem like this shutdown is ending anytime soon. And putting up partisan politics aside, and just speaking big picture, it does not often seem like either our state government or national government is that intent on doing anything, which most of the time I feel like is fine. Like, I think the government and the country is probably best when two hammer-headed sides are very closely contested and we don't have big swings. I think that's probably good. I'm no civics professor, but I had a civics teacher who once talked about that. Seems to make sense to me. I would, however, prefer them to be earning their paycheck and working, and showing up to work, and not just hanging out. Well, what do you want to do? The other side, they don't want to work with us. And then you talk to the other side, and they're like, well, the other side, they don't want to work with us. It's like, okay, well, like, grab a broom then and go outside and clean up a public space then, because you guys are on the payroll still. So if you're not going to open up the government, go grab a broom. Empty some trash bins. You go ahead, go on a trash route around Washington, D.C. Fly these politicians all over the country. We got work that needs to be done in public spaces. About to get some snow maybe this weekend. Somebody's going to need to clear and salt the streets. Fly some of our local representatives back here. Who's out there? I almost said Ron Kind. I don't think he's been in office for a bit. Who's our senators? Tammy Baldwin, and fly Ron Johnson back here. Put him in the passenger seat of an ice spreading truck in some local municipality. Send him up to Taylor County. Put him to work. Let's make them work, that earn their paycheck. He can do the cable news hits from there. It's fine. It'll be a good backdrop for him. I'm just saying, if the government's going to shut down, like, put these people to work doing something else. I understand there's politics that need to be decided. I'm an idiot. All right, fine. But there's work that needs to be done. These people are on the payroll. They're still making money, aren't they? 608-321-1670. Bobby in Menominee says, I, for one, love the fewer flights. As someone whose house is right where all the incoming flights from the east for MSP start their engine braking, it's been a lot quieter overhead. Bobby, that is nice for you. That airport probably has been there a while, though. So, like, moving next to the airport and being like, I love when the airport's shut down. Like, well, I bet you do. I'd probably like it too. Let's take a break. More of your texts, more of your Packers calls. We'll do a Badger reset at 5 o'clock as well. I also, at the end of this hour and at the end of next hour, want to give you just a little bit of a teaser on what you can expect on Monday's show when Rick Mixter joins us to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. I'll give you a little bit of that on the other side to wrap up the first hour of the show.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoked. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros. For pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. Let's Go Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. Let's Go Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. Let's Go Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
A freighter carrying a crew of 29 disappeared on Lake Superior during a severe storm last night, and so far, no survivors have been found. The freighter, the Edmund Fitzgerald, was transporting iron ore when it ran into high winds and 25-foot waves.
November 10th, right around the corner. Monday's show is going to be a fun one, always is. The 50th anniversary. I've been building towards this. I always do some fun interviews or different little things to commemorate the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. We will do it on Monday, which is kind of funny because Packers-Eagles is Monday night. So we'll preview that game, but also like talk about a shipwreck, which I just kind of get a kick out of that general premise. Rick Mixter will be back. He's been in a billion documentaries. He's dove a billion shipwrecks. He's written a bunch of books. He tours and he lectures. He's the best around at this stuff. And you'll hear 20 minutes of an interview that I did with him last week. I recorded with him last Friday because I wanted to get it done early in case something came up. I'm like, well, if this interview doesn't happen, like the show's just a total bust. So that's in the can, ready to go. I'll post it on, the YouTube page as well. And if you're watching on the live stream, I'll give you a little teaser here. And those of you, our radio audience, you'll hear it as well. 3 minutes, and I'm not even going to set it up. I'm just going to let it run. This is a 3-minute teaser from part of our conversation with Rick Mixter. You'll hear this on Monday. Rick Mixter is here for his yearly visit, and we appreciate his time a ton. It's funny you mentioned the Anderson, because one of my favorite parts about the Fitzgerald is, reading your book or following anything that you do, and you covered this really well. All of the ships and the captains and the men of the other boats that were in the area who went on these search and rescue missions that, I mean, they on some level had to understand how insane those missions are. Some of these boats weren't equipped for that. the Wood Rush, which is featured in your new book, the Anderson, the William Clay Ford. Like, talk about some of those captains in that part of the story, because I think it's one of the most interesting parts of the story, and it's not talked about as much.
It's interesting because, here there were several ships that were at anchor. This is the smart thing to do in that storm. And again, let's not blow it out of perspective. This was not even a top 12 storm in the last century. I've heard it described with 100-mile-an-hour winds. I'm like, where are you getting that from? The highest winds I saw sustained were 60 from Standard Rock. And of course, some of the ships said it was a little higher in gusts, but that's not really what you worry about. You need a prolonged wind to get that fetch to build the big waves that come up. And it certainly built a big enough wave, but it didn't sink the Anderson. So the big question is, what was wrong with the Fitzgerald when it went down? But when the Coast Guard went to respond, the Naugatuck tried to go out of the Sioux, a little tugboat, had engine problems. It turned back. The Coast Guard sent their airplane and their helicopters out, and then they called the Wood Rush with Captain Jimmy Hobaugh, an amazing skipper. I talked to several of the crew and Jimmy, who actually, I did the last lecture with him before he passed in Bay City. Just an amazing man, a real hero on the Great Lakes to go out and try to find it. And Cooper's interview is amazing because he talks about why the saltwater ships wouldn't turn around. They were much closer. They were an hour closer than he was. The Roush wouldn't bring up its anchor. He said, no, it's too rough. I'm not going to endanger my crew. And that was his responsibility. The Clay Ford didn't go out right away either until the Anderson turned around, and they met each other at 2:00 in the morning at the wreck site. And that's where Cooper said, what an exercise in futility. That was his exact quote. What was I going to do? Stop my boat? He said, no, it wasn't possible. So I think in many ways he was glad he didn't find a lifeboat, but he was sad that he didn't find live people either. It would have been amazing to bring people out, but it was so quick. But we don't know. It was a half hour blinded in the snow. The radars blotted out by the snow, the binoculars, the nighttime taking a lot of those lights too that you couldn't see. We don't know how fast it was, but it seems by every account that it was too fast to try to get a mayday out. And that could have been how the ship broke up on the surface. It could have been, just how sudden it was. We don't know. And that's the part that I think we could figure out some of it. And that's what's always kept my interest. But if it was quick, boy, that's amazing, because I've heard too many stories of guys slowly dying on life rafts, when the Coast Guard didn't know to search for the guys in the morale. And it just rips your heart.
So that's Rick Mixter. You'll hear more of that on Monday. Did a full 20 minutes with Rick. And also, and I can't recommend this enough, if you have been a new listener to the show at any point over the last couple of years. So like, not even like, hey, you're new this week, but like if you have become a listener to the show, let's say within the last year, within the last couple of months, this is his third appearance, and it's legit 2 or 3 of the better interviews that I think have ever gone down on this show because he's so great. So I'm going to tweet a little thread. If you follow me at Wisco Grant, I'm going to clip all of the videos and all the podcast links to every time that he has joined the show and everything that's been posted. I'll throw it up on Facebook if you like the show's Facebook page as well. And it's already on the YouTube page for what it's worth. If you just go to show interviews, you'll have to scroll down a little bit because it's a year old, but it's not super far down there. I would also, shameless plug here, like I would appreciate a subscription to the YouTube page, the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills. It's very easy to find. Throw it a sub. And the interview from last year with Rick Mixter is there. Talk about, what sank the Fitzgerald. He dove it in the 90s. That story is, and I sometimes I feel bad because I ask him to tell some of the same stories and anecdotes year after year, but it's just so good. And it's not a wreck that's been dove, I think, about a dozen times by a dozen different crews. It's not a wreck that's been visited a whole lot for a myriad of reasons that we discuss, and you'll hear some of that, the politicking and the logistics of missions like that. So you hear more of that on Monday, but lots of interviews to listen to and find. I'll post them if you want to consume over the weekend to get ready for Monday. Let's talk a little Badgers next. A little bit more audio from Chris McIntosh on the other side as we begin hour number 2.
That good ship and true was a bone to be chewed when the gales of November came early.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers continue their prep for a visit from the Eagles coming up on Monday night. Green Bay coming off an underwhelming effort and a loss to Carolina. That included getting the ball run down their throat. But cornerback Keyshawn Nixon expected a bounce back.
We all going to step up as a defense, and we know we underperformed last week, so we coming to play ball everywhere. And back end linebackers and D-line.
Green Bay will enter the game 5-2-1. The Eagles coming in as defending Super Bowl champions and tied atop the NFC at 6-2. Despite some struggles against poor opponents this year, Nixon says their confidence remains high.
We can play with anybody, so we be having self-inflicted wounds that we just got to cut out penalties, cut them out, and play ball. We'll be all right.
Packers just 1-4 against the Eagles under coach Matt LaFleur. The last 2 losses have not been forgotten, including last year's wild card round.
It's not even just a playoff game. We lost in week 1 too, so we went 0-2 against them last year, and don't really want to have that feeling again.
Kick on Monday is at 7:15. Turning to the Badgers, they're going to face number 23 Washington tomorrow at Camp Randall. Big news came yesterday when athletic director Chris McIntosh made it official in announcing Luke Fickell would return for a 4th year. Wisconsin 2-6 and has lost 10 straight Big Ten games.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Bucks and Badgers both in action tonight. Number 24, Wisconsin, going to take on Northern Illinois at the Kohl Center. Tip there is at 7:30. And the Bucks also in action at home as they take on the Bulls in an NBA Cup game. Tip there is at 7. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
Matt LaFleur's coaching like a guy who thinks he's got this job as long as he wants it. LaFleur knows how this works. He loses a game. He gets up there. He takes some accountability, says, we got to get better, deflects some of the accountability, but he does not have any fear of anything. He's not getting fired. He's not getting fired at the end of the season.
We consistently move the ball. I do think there's a little bit of pressing to get a big play, but when they're not there, you can't chase it. You got to be able to run the football. I think that's been a little bit of an issue at times.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
A little bit of a reset on the Packers. Matt LaFleur's seat is heating. At least it certainly feels like it. Although, as I explained at the beginning of the show, and I'll go all the way back to August on this, I've been pretty consistent. Well, if this year doesn't go well, is Matt LaFleur on the hot seat? Yeah, and that's true of every coach in football not named Reed or McVay or Shanahan. Like, find me another coach who could just have a miserable, terrible, awful year, and the organization be like, love it. Fine. Can't wait to be back next year. No pressure. Not even a thought to it. Well, Grant, what about Dan Campbell? I don't know. After Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn depart, you're telling me if Dan Campbell and the Lions wouldn't have sucked this year, that people would have been saying, well, Dan Campbell's nothing without his coordinators. That seat would have been hot. Yeah, that's how it works. If you're a long tenured coach, if you're a brand new coach, that's how it works. So we discussed back at 4:00, and we discussed a little bit with Ryan Wood as well, the idea that pressure could really start to pile up for Matt LaFleur and the Packers, especially if they lose to the Eagles on Monday. And this is such an interesting 2-week period because before the Panthers game, I remember Dave from Monona called and we spent a little time on the show talking about like, well, you beat the Panthers. And then, yeah, the Eagles game is going to be tough, but then look at the rest of the schedule. You'll be favored against the Giants. You'll be favored at home against the Lions. Probably be road dogs in Detroit, but then favorites at home against Chicago. Probably favorites on the road against Chicago. Probably favorites at home against Buffalo. And who knows with Minnesota, but the way that they've looked, you'd probably be at very worst about even or probably road favorites there. The only games that you're, again, going to be dogs in at Detroit and at Denver. Like, look at this. The Packers, I mean, they're cooking with gas. But then you lose to Carolina. All of a sudden, the Philly game is huge because it's the difference between being 6-2-1 or 5-3-1. For a team that was once 2-0 with upcoming matchups against Cleveland, Dallas, Cincinnati, Arizona, Carolina, Pittsburgh. Like, how did the Packers end up in this spot? I think it's a real indictment. I got a text here from, Kent? Yes, Kent in Mad City in Madison, I would imagine he means. Says, Grant, anyone suggesting that LaFleur is one of the best play callers and play designers in the NFL, despite every person in the stadium, press box, watching television on the other team's sidelines, and me listening on the radio, knows what's coming, is either delusional or an unmitigated suck-up, he says of Ryan Wood's appearance earlier when Ryan said, yeah, I think Matt LaFleur is one of the better play designers in football. I think he's one of the better play callers, too. What Ryan was saying is the in-game decision-making has sucked. timeout usage, clock management, fourth down decision making. Now, play designing and play calling are two different things. They're somewhat tied at the hip, but they are different. Play designing versus play calling are two different things. I still think Matt LaFleur is quite good. I think Packers fans right now are underrating some of the limitations in this offense. Their O-line has been bad. It's not that their O-line has been meh. Their O-line has been bad. Josh Jacobs is limited, and they just lost their best pass catcher, Tucker Kraft. And by the way, Matthew Golden didn't practice today with the shoulder. Dontavian Wicks has been missing time. Christian Watson just got back. I know Packers fans want to look at this and say, why aren't you scoring 40 points a game? But I remember a couple weeks ago bringing this up, like, guys, should we really be expecting that? I think Jordan Love is good. I don't think he's Josh Allen. I think Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Tucker Kraft, Josh Jacobs, Matthew Golden, that's good. I don't think it's one of the best skill position groups in the league. And in the recent weeks, Tucker Kraft has gone down. Josh Jacobs has been hurt. Like, you guys, Matt LaFleur is not conducting the greatest show on turf right now. I think there are factors that we need to, take into account when we're evaluating him. And also, like, Jordan Love throwing 3 really bad picks this year, and there's only been 3. So I think Jordan Love is discussed a little unfairly because he'll go 4 weeks without an interception. He'll play brilliantly, and then he'll make one bad throw, and everyone goes, well, there, and that's why I can't trust him. It's okay, so is he never allowed to throw interceptions? He can never make a bad throw? Is that the standard that we're holding Jordan Love to? So I am sympathetic to Jordan Love. I think he's been very good. He does have a knack for throwing the worst interception at the worst time, and that's something that Matt LaFleur's had to deal with as well. And all these games have been close. So you're always worried about that one interception over the span of 4 weeks being the one that bites you. I think Matt LaFleur's dealing with a lot. I haven't loved how he's called and coached some of these games, but we're acting like any boob could just step in and coach and call this offense to 40 points. And I think when you dig in and look at the factors that are at play, I don't think that's fair. That's just me, but you can have your own opinion, Kent. Ryan Wood has his own opinion. I think I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, sitting on the fence. Criticize me for that if you want. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, it's Darnell.
Hey, Darnell. What's going on?
Hey, I have a little bone to pick with maybe like the whole league and the media and everything.
So just everybody, it sounds like, just with the whole world. Okay.
When it comes to Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
I'm not trying to say that he's not, up there in top 2, top 3, top 4 quarterbacks of all time.
Okay.
But acting like he is Jesus all the time and never puts the ball in harm's way and always makes the right reads and has this cannon for an arm. The guy is a little bit, they've made him bigger than he is. Okay.
Big quarterback or big football? Just they, generally speaking?
Big NFL, whatever. The powers that be in the league want Mahomes to be this kind of like all powerful person. And I saw a quote or a stat today about interceptions called back by penalties. And Patrick Mahomes leads it by like 14 interceptions since he came to the league.
That's funny. Brady-esque.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah.
Like, so the guy doesn't put the ball in the harm's way because when he does, it's a penalty on the other team.
Well, can I expand the point that you're making to something a little bit bigger and maybe a little bit more applicable to the Packers? I watch a lot of other games. I don't watch every single one. I'm not recording them all. I don't have Sunday NFL ticket because I'm not a millionaire. But I watch other games and I constantly see really good quarterbacks just make a stinker throw here and there. And then I go, oh, that was kind of a stinker throw. And then I watch the rest of the game and I'm like, yeah, that happens. They made a bunch of good throws. And I think for a lot of quarterbacks, we accept that. With Jordan Love, is a little bit more critical because I think people have it in their mind that he's this gunslinger and he puts the ball up, and he does, but he's got 3 picks this year. So like that's the disconnect for me. And it's not just Mahomes. Winning a couple Super Bowls, Darnell, will probably buy you a little bit of benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I just don't know why good quarterbacks around football can be, really good for the course of a month, make one stinky throw, and for the most part, we're like, whatever. And then Jordan Love does it, and it like erases a month of really good, clean play.
Does it also kind of feel like Mahomes, at least with like the gaudy stats, is kind of still living off of like 2018 to 2020 when their offense was basically just chuck it up in the air and let the fastest person on the planet run underneath it?
I think so. And then they built their team differently. And Darnell, we got loaded phone lines, and I want to make sure everyone has a chance to get in here. Yeah, but I think because we saw Patrick Mahomes was capable of doing that, the team went in a different direction, traded Hill, built up the defense, became more of like a well-rounded physical team. It hasn't been pretty. And I'm with you that at some point I would like to see Patrick Mahomes be laser show guy. And I think now, probably for the first time since Tyreek Hill left, they have a position group that best equips Patrick Mahomes to do that. Hollywood Brown is not, special, but he's a deep ball guy. Xavier Worthy as well. Kelsey, when he doesn't have to be the only ticket in town, is still decently effective. I know that's not, decently effective is not the best way to praise someone, but he's a really solid player. And there's someone else that I'm forgetting on the team. Not Juju Smith-Schuster, because I'm not a Juju guy. I think this year, and I bet if I pull up MVP odds, Patrick Mahomes is what? Top 3 or 4? And I'll pull that up while we go to take another call here. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is John in Cornell.
Hey, John, what's up?
Hey, not a whole lot. Back to the Packers talk. I would say, yeah, you can't expect a team to do, for the Packers, you can't expect Jordan Love or the team as a whole to do really well when the O-line is not great.
Yeah.
I mean, if the O-line is your weak point, here's a simple analogy of a bad O-line. If you look at Joe Flacco going from the Cleveland Browns to the Cincinnati Bengals have an O-line and they have weapons, and he is like a completely different football player. Not that Joe Flacco's Tom Brady, but the importance of an O-line actually playing well, in my opinion, affects everything. If your O-line is terrible, Jordan Love is not going to do well. And if Tucker Kraft is hurt, no, you're not going to win by 40 points. You're going to win by 4. You're going to win by a touchdown, or it's just going to be a little bit closer. And you're not going to be 11-5. You're going to be 10-6, or 9-8. It's going to be a little bit of a rougher ride, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. But forget about the record, John. Appreciate you listening, calling up from Cornell, Chippewa County, right? I think so. I'm being Dunn County later tonight. Looking forward to my weekend. Forget the record. Let's just focus on an in-game basis. You're going to have some drives where everything hits and it looks great, and then you're going to have other drives where it's like, ooh, that was stinky. Poor O-line. Their entire wide receiving core, Christian Watson still coming back. Dontavian Wicks, even if he plays this weekend, is coming back from a calf, which was his second calf injury. Matthew Golden didn't practice today. Savion Williams didn't practice yesterday, limited today with a foot. Malik Heath has a new hip injury. I like their skill position players when they're healthy. They're not healthy. I don't love them when they're healthy. I like them when they're healthy, and they're not healthy. And their O-line kind of stinks. So all things considered, I think Jordan Love has done a pretty good job. Matt LaFleur also conducts offense in a way where it's like, we're just not going to let our quarterback get hit. Even if the ball's got to come out in screens, and even if we run a bunch of plays that aren't really all that sexy or attractive, I'm not letting the pass rush get to my quarterback. And we've talked about that throughout the week as well. And that impacts the way that it looks and the way that plays are called. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Line number 2.
Hey, Grant, Jeremy. How's it going?
Excellent, Jeremy. How about you?
Good. Hey, so I had some time to kind of reflect on the season so far, and this is what I came to. So right now the Packers have 5 wins. There are 7 teams that have 5 wins. There are 10 teams that have more than 5 wins, and there are 15 teams that have less than 5 wins. The teams that have more than 5 wins have the 2 losses or whatever they have been not great. I mean, Indianapolis their last game was terrible, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And the best team, allegedly right now, the Broncos with the best record.
You watched that game last night?
Sorry. Oh, no, I was not subjecting myself to that. I feel sorry for anybody else that had to sit through it.
Yeah.
So my point is that everybody is having these weird games. And I think that's just the kind of season we're having right now. Now, I look at it, we got how many games left? We've got some divisional. We have to win the divisional games. And, I mean, we're looking at the Eagles. We're staring down the barrel of the Eagles this week. So if we don't get to, I don't know if 11 is going to cut it. If we get to 12 wins, 13 wins, I mean, yeah. Well, no, I'm talking for the season. So, if the Packers get to 11 or 12 out of the remaining 9 games, they have to change something. They have to figure out consistency, because right now the Packers have no cohesion. That's what I'm seeing. The offense not only is terrible, not always bad either. The defense not always terrible, not always bad, but there's no glue holding all of it together.
It
And
does
that's
seem
where the
like
frustration comes in.
it does seem like a collection of pretty good players, pretty good plays, pretty good moments. The connective tissue doesn't always seem to be there. Look, if they win 11 games this year, I think I'll be thrilled. They're at 5 wins right now, right? If they get to 11, I don't know if that's good enough for the division. But if they get to 11, 12 wins, you're telling me something needs to change. I'd be pretty pleased with 11 or 12 wins right now. I think this Eagles game, I think we need this Eagles game so bad. We've been saying the same stuff about the Packers for 5 or 6 weeks. And we just need to see what happens against the Eagles, good or bad. We need it. We need some new information. We need new experiences because we've been screaming into the void about haven't played a complete game, not consistent, immature, play down to their opponents, just all of it. We've been stuck in this vortex for over a month. And if the Packers get stomped by the Eagles on Monday Night Football, part of me will be relieved because I'll be like, you know what? At least we're saying something new next Tuesday. At least we have new information. At least we have something new to process. Because this last month has just felt like a slog, saying the same thing every day, which I think that's what the Packers have earned. And by the way, I think the Arizona and Cincinnati and Pittsburgh wins all a little bit better than everyone wants to give them credit for. The problem is you then drop that game to Carolina, and it makes everything less impressive in hindsight, which probably isn't fair. That's not how the NFL works, but that's how fans work, and that's how Sports Talk Radio works. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, Tony from Texas. I love when I get these messages. 15 years ago, the Packers won 42-7 against the Cowboys.
Oh, what a stomp. Was that the game that got Wade Phillips fired?
Oh, that is the game. Clay Matthews' big interception. I was at that game. I think it was a Sunday night game, maybe?
I think you're right.
And, well, we just want to blow out. So if you could look this up really quick as I go on a rant, what are we giving up defensively a game? Because we got to score more than that. And we're not, not consistently scoring enough points. And Darnell, let me tell you right now, you're going to complain about Patrick Mahomes being overrated. Is that the gist of his conversation he had with you?
I believe
the
so.
Guy's won 3. He's won 3 Super Bowls. Yeah, he has a great coach and a great D coordinator, but some of the teams haven't been the best. Got a little lucky, yes, but this dude's won 3 Super Bowls, and we had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. The media never really said anything. Like, Brett's the gunslinger. The guy just threw 4 picks. Well, that's Brett being Brett.
Yeah.
Or Aaron Rodgers is being careful with the ball. Well, Aaron, take a risk. So we should be used to this, Darnell. I don't know why he's criticizing Mahomes, but Grant, what are we giving up a game? I need to know
20.8, and that's 8th best in football.
That's not good enough.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I would have figured about 17. But
that would be 3rd or 4th best in football.
Yeah. Do you trust LaFleur's offense to score 24 in the playoffs? I don't.
I mean, if we don't, then there's a problem. Like, I agree with you. I wish the defense, put it this way, I think the defense big picture has been good enough to win these games that they've lost. I would like more flashes of dominance. You don't need to pitch a complete game shutout, but like with Freddie Peralta, it's like if you go 6 innings, you can get in a mess in 1 or 2 of those innings, but I need like a frame where you just close it down. And I would like a game from the Packers defense or a quarter or a couple of drives where it's like, wow. You're not going to be perfect as a defense, but I think that's what's missing. You allow 20 points a game. The Packers should be able to win just about every game. But I would like some more flashes.
Grant, we all know the special teams will blow it in the playoffs. That's what'll happen. That's what's going to happen again.
Probably.
I'll leave you on that.
Thank
Happy
you, Tony.
weekend.
Yeah, have a good weekend. Well, and this is what's scary about special teams. There's one more person on hold. I promise I'll get to you. Give me 30 seconds to respond to that. This is what's frustrating. The Packers are winning these games close. I showed you that Steven Ruiz tweet earlier this week where it's like the Packers have got to they got to stop trying to win every game by 3 points, which I agree with, because when you're so comfortable being in close games with teams that you probably shouldn't be in close games with, the one Jordan Love mistake for the whole month porks you, or the one effed up field goal porks you. Whereas if you're actually gapping some of these teams and you're leading by 14 instead of 3, or you're leading by 17 instead of trailing by 3, one special teams gaffe doesn't kill you. One Jordan Love interception is just that, like, stinky throw, come back on the next drive and get them. But they're playing all these teams so close that 1 or 2 mistakes, which happen over the course of a football game, can be the difference between a win and a loss. And for teams that are winning by a more substantial margin, it just becomes a little bit of a blip on the radar. All right, one last call, and then we got to go to break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Louis in Eau Claire.
Hey, what's going on, Louis? Thanks for waiting.
You bet, Grant. Well, first of all, Cornell is in Chippewa County. It's 12 miles south of the Russ County Chippewa County line for your information.
I appreciate
for
that.
this segment.
Thank you.
of Wisconsin geography. Kind of like you were saying, I think it's a little bit much to expect the Packers to score a bunch of points with the injuries and with the kind of the poor offensive line play. I know LaFleur's doing the best that he can, but that brings me to the point of that magnifies every in-game decision, and that seems to be a little bit of a weakness.
Yeah.
You know, love LaFleur or hate LaFleur or whatever, extend him, fire him. That's not his strong point. So when he says, even though it's tongue in cheek, I don't talk to kickers. Well, in the 2 losses and the 1 tie this year, there's been missed kicks, there's been special teams gaffes. So they need to be better at the things that don't require a bunch of talent. They need to be better at in-game challenges, timeouts, special teams. That's what's going to cost this team as much as anything.
Well, and I think that comment really builds off what I was just saying, Louis. It's like, well, if you're playing every team close, the one mistake can do you in. The one bad interception, even though Jordan Love has played great football for a month, can do you in. The one special teams gaffe. When you're playing in close games, one mismanagement move by the head coach can do you in. You get a little overzealous on 1 4th down. Doesn't matter if you're leading by 20. Matters a lot more if you're in the fight of your life with the Panthers at home as 13.5-point favorites. Got to get a break, and I promise I'll get right back to your phone calls on the other side. 3 minutes.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Jordan, in your first year as a starter, you guys ran the tush push 5 times. I think you were successful with it 4. You guys haven't run it since. Why do you think that is?
I'm not sure why it is. I think obviously I think Matt's talked about trying to keep me out of some of those situations, taking some different hits and things like that. But I think we've done a good job in some of our third downs and some of our other situations. I mean, we got Josh Jacobs where you just turn to hand him the ball too. So who knows what the reasons might be. I know a couple years ago we got dinged with a couple penalties, things like that when we ran a couple QB sneaks. So I think when you have a running back like that as well, you just want to hand him the ball in some of these short yardage situations and let him go get it.
That's Jordan Love yesterday. I think yesterday. Everything's pushed back a day. So normally the locker room open on Wednesday. Jordan Love speaks Wednesday, but because they're playing Monday, it's pushed to yesterday. So we're listening to it today, which is Friday. Oh, brother. That cut jumped out to Bill earlier today. So I'm not going to lie. We were playing Jordan Love's presser, and I was working on something else in here. So I was not locked in. And when the presser ended, Bill said, "Hey, Grant, did you catch what Jordan Love said?" He said, "Matt LaFleur wants to take me out of spots where I could take hits." And I said, "Oh, well, that's actually really juicy because that gives us a little bit of an insight into why Matt LaFleur might be calling the game a certain way." A lot of Packers fans want Matt LaFleur to let Jordan Love cook, let him rip it, let him throw, push the ball down the field, stop being so conservative. And he's not been doing that. So we've been kind of trying to figure out why. Does he not trust Jordan Love? Does he think Jordan Love's going to make a mistake? Does he not trust his O-line? Does he not do that? And Bill said, well, Jordan Love said, well, Matt LaFleur wants to protect him from getting hits. I said, oh, well, that's actually a huge little line. We could build a whole segment out of that. And then I listened and I didn't realize the question was about the tush push. Well, that's, that makes a lot more sense. Hey, Jordan Love, why don't you guys run the tush push? I don't know. Matt LaFleur doesn't want me to get killed. Okay. Understandable. Not everybody's built like Jalen Hurts. I do think, however, there's some shred of truth to that. I don't think Matt LaFleur will call a game that leaves his quarterback and his O-line out to dry. We talked about this with Mike Renner a couple weeks ago. I think it's a defining trait of a Matt LaFleur offense and a Matt LaFleur game script. We will pull extra blockers in. We will send fewer route runners downfield. We will do whatever is necessary to make sure our quarterback is not getting smoked and not under fire. And I think that Cleveland game probably put the fear of God into Matt LaFleur in week 3 too. So when Packers fans are complaining or wondering why is Matt LaFleur being so conservative, I don't think it's because he doesn't trust Jordan Love. I think it's he doesn't trust this O-line. And with every week that passes, they lose more pass catchers. Matthew Golden didn't practice today. Savion Williams was limited yesterday. Now, I don't want Savion Williams to play, but now we're to the point where he has to. And obviously, Tucker Kraft is going to miss the rest of the season. So I think recalibrating and re-understanding the way that we should watch and judge this offense probably going to be necessary going into Monday night. I'd prefer they weren't playing the Eagles, but what? They were just 13.5-point favorites at home to the Panthers, and they lost that game anyway. So maybe they need to see a team like the Eagles. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Ridge Runner Mark, how we doing?
I'm doing
It's
good,
fine,
Rich.
Friday.
Yeah, I'm doing excellent. How about you?
Not too shabby. So, talking about the Packers, I will say overall, I think we're micromanaging the heck out of these games and these decisions.
Okay.
They're going to have clunkers. But I will also say I think we need to redefine what we consider aggression and what we consider conservative.
Okay.
Because there's worshiping at the altar of we got to chuck it at least 40 yards down the field once or twice to stretch the defense, when in reality we're looking at it backwards. If aggression is we're going to get the ball out of your hand in less than 3 seconds, we're going to dink and dunk, but we're also going to make plays where at least 10, 5, 10, 15 yards down the field to get them to creep in expecting for that, then we take our shot, but we don't push for it. And that's the one thing I always hated about Rodgers did it. Favre, whatever, he's going to do it because he's going to do it. It's not a question of, it's a mentality thing. But 3rd and 2, you don't need to go for the home run ball.
But it's fun.
It is fun, and it's a great thing, but it's got to be a sure thing.
Yeah.
Because
I'm with
you can say, well, I'm going to put the ball only in a place where my guy, Christian Watson, can jump up and get it. Last week, that didn't happen, quite potentially because of the wind. But let's cook, let's call aggression, getting the ball out of our hands, pushing it down the field to a certain extent, and making the defense change what they do. And so those long distance plays open up better. It's the same thing like you run to pass or you pass to create running opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing for long distance throws. And I think aggression needs to be, we're going to get out of your ball quick. Get the ball out of your hand quick. We're not going to do any of these behind the scrimmage shenanigans. I just don't think they've got it this year for those sweeps or even for screens. But if I can get the ball in my receiver's hands at the line of scrimmage or beyond it by 5 yards, then let them do their thing. Give them, some guys coming in to do blocking, whatever. But I think that's what we need to consider as aggression. Not that we got to chuck it down the field.
Sure.
We got to make the fear of God in them, because I consider all those throws to be 50-50. And in those cases, I'm a half glass empty. I'm assuming it's going to get picked.
Well, especially on 3rd and 2, right? Like, I'd feel glass half empty on 3rd and 2. That's a great call. I think Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, if he can play this weekend, both very important players in that intermediate area. I also think Jordan Love just has to be a little bit more focused and buttoned up. Like, take the snap, drop back. If your big play or your main read isn't there, the check down's got to come out. This is Sam Brookhouse. He kind of talked about this. Jordan Love balancing aggression and patience. And then I'm going to get back to the phone calls if you're on hold, I promise.
I think it's a very, very delicate balance, especially when it comes to gunslingers like Jordan Love. I mean, we've seen Josh Allen have years where he has a very high interception total. And some of the criticism this year has been that Joe Brady has made Josh Allen too conservative. And that's why he isn't performing necessarily to the MVP level, despite them still winning games behind an excellent running offense. And so I think it's a very delicate balance. I think you got to take some of the good with the bad. And look, big purview over the season. He's doing extremely well, and he projects to continue doing extremely well. But there's just one more tier that you got to jump up into. And I think, becoming that kind of cerebral pre-snap figure is where he needs to become, and be able to take those check downs within a second of the snap when you know you're not going to get it, rather than chunking it deep. I think those are the little bit differences that we need to see from Jordan.
That's the thing that struck me, like recognizing earlier in a play it's not happening. Take the check down, because defenses are giving it to you because they don't think you'll take it often enough. And on Sunday against the Panthers, and in other instances as well, the Packers haven't been able to do it, as Ryan Wood described in the first hour. All right, one more call here, and then I want to take a break, give you some Badgers thoughts. Wisco Sports Show, who's this?
Hey, Grant, how you doing tonight? It's Mad Max.
Hey, Mad Max, I'm doing well. How about you?
Hey, good. Yeah, I'm just settling in, looking for some Edmund Fitzgerald Porter, looking for a good fish fry, and I'm looking forward to settling in tonight and watching a good Edmund Fitzgerald documentary that they're showing on Fox 6. So looking forward to that.
I think I'm going to do the same tonight. I think I'm going to watch one of the doc. I've bookmarked a bunch of them. I think tonight is the night. I might watch it in bed, get cozy, watch a shipwreck documentary, just, guy stuff.
Yeah, I know there's an NBA Cup Bucks game on tonight, and there's a Badgers game too. But I'll push that stuff off until a little bit later. But there's one thing that I don't think that that any of these documentaries are going to cover on is weather manipulation, and just how the tunnels in a Racine do have a weather machine that actually does often exacerbate the gales of November and make treacherous conditions for sailors even more treacherous. But fortunately for them, with the government shutdown, there isn't as much testing on the machines going on, so it should be smoother sailing for our brave sailors this year, which is good.
Is there a reason what is their reason to manipulate the weather out of the tunnels?
I haven't quite figured that out yet. I just know that it's happening. I need to do a little bit more research on that. There's still a lot of mysteries in the tunnels that the cabal, that the deep state doesn't want the common people to know.
And the tunnels, do the tunnels directly empty into Lake Michigan?
It does, and it goes out to the pyramids, the ancient pyramids that are out in the Great Lakes too. I'm not sure if the pyramids or the weather manipulation played a role in the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, but it's also a possibility. I'm not totally going to shut down, mainly just because I don't really believe the initial narrative from what the government tells us.
Sure. Enjoy the documentaries, Max. Thank you for the call. I just love the word cabal so much. I was with him until he said that. I mean, who knows what the elites in the tunnels do? Who knows why they do these things? Stanley Kubrick probably would have made a movie about this had the cabal not killed him after Eyes Wide Shut, if we're being honest. Allegedly. Again, allegedly. Don't believe what the government tells you. I know Stanley Kubrick had a heart attack. Let's be honest. The government shutdown affecting the weather. That's the second mention of a government shutdown. And if I told someone, hey, we had 2 different callers mention the government shutdown, they said, oh, were you talking about prices of this or that? Were you talking about anything in the news? No, the 2 reasons that the government shutdown came out was a stock tip on Hertz and the weather machines in the Racine tunnels. And the person would say, oh, okay. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have guessed that. No, absolutely not. You wouldn't have. We'll take a break, a couple minutes on the Badgers next. And for our Edmund Fitzgerald fans, for our Fitz heads, a little bit of a teaser, another clip coming up towards the end of the show of what you can expect from Rick Mixter when he makes his appearance on Monday.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
You talked when you hired Luke about championship level expectations at Wisconsin for the football program. As you look forward to year 4, what does success look like to you? How will you determine whether this is a path that is working?
Yeah, I think, the priority for me is to continue to grow the program in a way that puts us in a position to achieve those expectations. That comes in many forms. It's not limited to wins and losses. There are so many factors that contribute to that, and that's where my priority is. I think, just to reiterate, I am excited about where the program can go. There is a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done. It will not be easy. It will require all of us. This is why I'm so grateful for the support that Chancellor Mnuchin has given us. The level of alignment that we have right now is at a level that I've not experienced here in my time at Wisconsin. It will require our fans and our supporters and our donors to be part of it, but it's for those reasons that I'm optimistic about our chances.
That's Chris McIntosh with Jesse Temple yesterday. Can I just say something off the rip here? I don't give a rip if they're aligned. I don't care. I don't care if Jennifer Mnuchin and Chris McIntosh and Luke Fickell all celebrate Christmas together. I don't care. In fact, some of the best enterprises, some of the best group projects, let's say, in human history, were conducted by people who didn't like each other. Great bands throughout history. They didn't like each other. They drove each other nuts. The Eagles weren't aligned, but they made Hotel California all the same. Well, we're aligned. It's like, well, it certainly doesn't show. I'm glad you're aligned. I'm glad you are all on the same page. The page sucks. And so, by the way, so does the rest of the book. But it's nice to hear you're on the same page, I guess. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take everyone from the top down. Chancellor Mnuchin, I find it interesting that he mentions her as much as he does. It really starts at the top. Chancellor Mnuchin. Did I mention Chancellor Jennifer Mnuchin? And not just him, not just the chancellor, but everyone, again, in and around the program.
The people around our program, in and around our program.
The people in the program, but then the people in and around the program.
In and around our program.
Correct. The real kicker of that soundbite is when he said this. I saw Big Cat get a hold of this yesterday. He did not like this.
It's not limited to wins and losses.
Guys, it's not limited to wins and losses. I understand what he's saying. You could argue that some people who are angry about that quote are taking it out of context. I just don't think that that's something that can be uttered in any context, especially when you have done nothing but lose. This is what Zach did a great job of outlining on the camp. I listened to his episode with Jesse earlier today while I was getting my oil changed. My actual oil changed. I was not getting a prostate exam. I was sitting in the car at Valvoline, which, by the way, so easy to find a $10 coupon for an oil change. Just Google it, you add it to your wallet, $10 every time. I'm a rich man because of this. I was listening to the podcast, and Zach kept saying, look, it's easy to say it's not all about wins and losses.
It's not limited to wins and losses.
Correct. Thank you, Chris. It's easy to say that when you're not winning. You know what I mean? Well, it's not just about wins and losses, says the guy who's not getting any wins. There's more to life than sex, drugs, and rock and roll, says the guy who has no cool music and isn't getting laid.
It's not limited to wins and losses.
It's not limited to wins and losses. One would say that when they're not winning any games. And it's not that they've just been like underwhelming a little. Guys, they could end the season on a 10-game losing streak. I have been keeping track of the last time they actually beat a Power 4 opponent, but it's been so long now, that I've forgotten. Was it Rutgers last year? It must have been Rutgers last year. Again, it's easy to say, well, it's not all about wins and losses. It's easy to say that when you're not winning.
It's not limited to wins and losses.
Thank you, Chris. And again, I understand it's not just on him. It's the people in and around the program.
The people around our program.
Correct.
In and around our program.
Thank you, Chris, for, again, reiterating. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Eric on I-90.
Good evening, Eric. What's going on?
Good evening, Grant. I've been sending you some stuff on Edmund Fitzgerald, some of the people that were on there.
The faces and the names, yeah.
The faces and the names. I find that interesting. Just think back in, it was 75, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those guys would have been packing up now, and they didn't realize it was the last time they were packing up. They had all.
It's funny. I was messaging with a friend about this earlier today. When you read like Bacon's book just came out, and he talked with a lot of the families and the wives and the family members of all of these sailors were like, it was going to be their last trip. They were retiring. And I say this with all due, Eric, I don't believe that for a sec, because I bet all these guys told their wives that every time they went out. Only then for the next fall to get that itch sitting at home. I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here.
Right. You know, the moral of the story is you never know when the last time is you're going to do something. You just don't know.
Correct. That's
You
very
don't
true.
know for sure.
That's deep.
So, yep. Well, it's you know, we're gonna keep talking, Grant. I ain't giving up yet. I'm not retiring from calling you. So, you know,
You've never made such promises. No,
did have a thought though, and it's kind of a odd thought that
it's okay.
shouldn't they put people with Guardian helmets on for blocking kicks? Because that helmet would probably help out. Don't you think?
I mean, everyone
It is
should probably
awfully
wear
big.
one. Yeah. Oh, for blocking, to like not blocking like kick returns, but trying to block a field goal. The Guardian helmet give you a couple extra inches. Interesting.
Right. They're huge. You'd never get around them. There'd be like two giant balls in the way. I think it would work. I think it would.
I think this is a valuable lesson.
All right. Well, Fins up Friday. Hey, watch the Vikes on Sunday, Grant. Watch them.
Well, I will. That's going to be about who do they play again? The don't tell me the Ravens. Wow.
Yep.
Now that's a game that's going to tell us some things, Eric. I appreciate it. That's a game where like, well, the Vikings could be real, but they kind of got to prove it at home. The Ravens could still have a season, but then they kind of got to win this game. Could argue in some ways a must-win for both teams, probably more of a must-win for the Ravens, but for the Vikings in 2025, maybe a little bit of a must-win. Their season won't crater if they lose, but man, think of what a loss or a win on Sunday would do for them. I'm also really interested in Patriots at Buccaneers. If Drake May and the Pats go down to Tampa and win that game, depending on how it looks, like Drake May might be leading talk shows as an MVP frontrunner on Monday, which seems insane. He's third in the odds right now, plus 400, just behind Mahomes. Josh Allen significantly higher than anyone else at plus 170. I guess not significantly, but it's Stafford, May, Mahomes, little gap, Josh Allen. I don't know. Those are two of the most interesting games to me, at least this weekend. One more call here. We got time for one more, and then we'll take our last break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Hello? Hello? Line one?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Who's this?
Danny from Holman.
Oh, Danny, what's going on? How you been, man?
I'm on my way home from. I got a job at Sam's.
Sam's Club?
Yep. They treat you really good.
Well, yeah, I'm happy to hear it. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's fun. So anyway, I wanted to let you know that. I mean, this was Scary Alvarez and McIntosh. You know, this is just ridiculous. I mean, what are they going to do when the people that have been faithful to him for all them years don't renew their tickets?
Well, and again, I was listening to Zach and Jesse. Zach thought like 25-30% non-renewal would be conservative. I think they're going to take a bath this offseason.
I do too. I really do.
There's tickets on the 50 for Saturday, and the weather's going to suck, but you can sit first level on the 50-yard line for like $25.
Yeah.
I'd go if
Did
I
you
had
see
any interest in going, but I don't.
Today they had tickets that went for AC/DC.
Yep. Are you
$34.90 for one in aisle 6?
$34?
$34.90. $34.90 in dollars.
Like $34.90 or $340.09.
$3,490.
That makes more sense. Are you going to go? You seem like an AC/DC fan.
I've seen them twice, so.
But not again? No interest in going again?
No, for that. Well, because like I said, a nosebleed section up in KK is $300.
Yeah, well, the consumer's getting bent 6 ways till Sunday in 2025, Denny. I appreciate it. Except at Badger football games. Take the whole family for the price of less than taking the family out to eat at Texas Roadhouse. You can go to a Badger game. God, Texas Roadhouse sounds good. Let's wrap up the show. Little Jimmy Buffett, as it is a Fins Up Friday. And also, I'll give you a little teaser of what's to come on Monday with our friend Rick Mixter.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoked. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros for pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Not only going out to Wisconsin and the great Midwest, we're going around the world tonight, Parrothead.
Wisco Sports Show. Last couple of minutes, I would like to spend it giving you a little bit of a teaser of what's to come on Monday. Rick Mixter will be back to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. It will be a heck of a show. It's always one of my favorites every year. Here is a little soundbite, a little teaser from what you will hear on Monday. Rick Mixter is here for his yearly visit, and we appreciate his time a ton. It's funny you mentioned the Anderson, because one of my favorite parts about the Fitzgerald is, reading your book or following anything that you do, and you covered this really well. All of the ships and the captains and the men of the other boats that were in the area who went on these search and rescue missions that, they on some level had to understand how insane those missions are. Some of these boats weren't equipped for that. The Wood Rush, which is featured in your new book, the Anderson, the William Clay Ford, talk about some of those captains in that part of the story, because I think it's one of the most interesting parts of the story, and it's not talked about as much.
It's interesting because, here there were several ships that were at anchor. This is the smart thing to do in that storm. And again, let's not blow it out of perspective. This was not even a top 12 storm in the last century. I've heard it described with 100-mile-an-hour winds. I'm like, where are you getting that from? The highest winds I saw sustained were 60 from Standard Rock. And of course, some of the ships said it was a little higher in gusts, but that's not really what you worry about. You need a prolonged wind to get that fetch to build the big waves that come up. And it certainly built a big enough wave, but it didn't sink the Anderson. So the big question is, what was wrong with the Fitzgerald when it went down? But when the Coast Guard went to respond, the Naugatuck tried to go out of the Sioux, a little tugboat, had engine problems. It turned back. The Coast Guard sent their airplane and their helicopters out, and then they called the Wood Rush with Captain Jimmy Hobaugh, an amazing skipper. I talked to several of the crew and Jimmy, who actually, I did the last lecture with him before he passed in Bay City. Just an amazing man, a real hero on the Great Lakes to go out and try to find it. And Cooper's interview is amazing because he talks about why the saltwater ships wouldn't turn around. They were much closer. They were an hour closer than he was. The Roush wouldn't bring up its anchor. He said, no, it's too rough. I'm not going to endanger my crew. And that was his responsibility. The Clay Ford didn't go out right away either until the Anderson turned around, and they met each other at 2:00 in the morning at the wreck site. And that's where Cooper said, what an exercise in futility. That was his exact quote. What was I going to do? Stop my boat? He said, no, it wasn't possible. So I think in many ways he was glad he didn't find a lifeboat, but he was sad that he didn't find live people either. It would have been amazing to bring people out, but it was so quick. But we don't know. It was a half hour blinded in the snow. The radars blotted out by the snow, the binoculars, the nighttime taking a lot of those lights too that you couldn't see. We don't know how fast it was, but it seems by every account that it was too fast to try to get a mayday out. And that could have been how the ship broke up on the surface. It could have been, just how sudden it was. We don't know. And that's the part that I think we could figure out some of it. And that's what's always kept my interest. But if it was quick, boy, that's amazing, because I've heard too many stories of guys slowly dying on life rafts, when the Coast Guard didn't know to search for the guys in the morale. And it just rips your heart.
You'll hear more of that on Monday, a 20-minute interview. Author, diver, Great Lakes researcher, lecturer, historian Rick Mixter is, he is the best. And this will be I think his third go-round. Third or fourth. I'm going to post all the links to his previous appearances and some video stuff as well. It's all on the YouTube page. So if you go to the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills, it's all there. I'll just organize it in one place and post it on my Twitter account at Wisco Grant, the show's Facebook page, the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills. It's a very specific show name, very specific name for me. It's not like my name is John Smith. It's rather specific. So pretty easy to find. I did get a text. I don't know who this is from, but it made me laugh. Stop filling time by repeating sound bites, Jim Rome wannabe.
It's not limited to wins and losses.
Okay. I didn't know Jim Rome did that. I don't listen to Jim Rome. Nothing against him. I got to listen to I participate in 4 hours of Bill Michaels. I listen to a couple hours of Ebo. I always listen to Camp. I don't have time to listen to Rome. He might do a good show. Probably does. A lot of people listen. Jim Rome wannabe. I will repeat sound bites. It's one of the funniest parts of sports radio. You get a good sound bite. You hammer it, and then it becomes show lore. Not explaining myself to you. 608 number. Thank you for the text. Have a great weekend. I will be back on Monday, and we'll do the Fitzgerald show. Always one of the best of the year. So have a great weekend. Thank you for listening. Always.
What can we say? Thank you all very much. You sure make a